Good morning, everybody. It is just after 11 o'clock Central Time on Wednesday morning. That means it's time for Brown Bag Lunch. I'm Dr. John Sherk, and I help air conditioning companies compete for talent with culture and all manner of things in addition to wages. What I want to talk about today is a little bit different from the talent piece that I normally talk about. We're reopening in our company the opportunity to do some things with succession planning, something we've been doing for a long time. And so I wanted to just comment on it today. It's a great program, about $5,000 for a year. You're going to get a lot of good stuff out of it, things you need, like the valuation of your company, what's your nest egg number that you need to hit, basically what's the gap between the value of the company if you sold it and that nest egg that you need. And what is all the preparation that goes with it. So reach out to me if that's an issue you're up against right now, and we'll talk about how to get you lots of help and lots of good advice for a very low price, at least in terms of the market rates. So that said, I want to talk about two ways of selling a company, two types of sales. When you sell a company, there are two kind of strategies from the buyer side. One is a financial buy and one is a strategic buy. If you've been around acquisitions for very long, this is sort of day one of acquisitions class. But stay with me here if you're already aware of this. So a financial buy simply means that an acquirer is purchasing your assets and your future profits. And as time goes on, the likelihood or the greater the risk that each year that goes on, those profits that they're purchasing will continue. Okay, so if you profited $500,000 this year, and they're saying, okay, the most likelihood is that next year you'll also make that 500, then it's a little more risk that you will the next year, and a little more the next year, and a little more the next year, and so on. And other than things like areas to expand and whatnot, generally speaking, you're up a creek if you want to sell potential, right? You can sell it to a point, but the potential is a much even greater risk profile than future profit, and so it is what it is. So that's a financial buy. The other kind of buy is a strategic buy, and this is a company that when a company gets bigger, and I realize how this is going to sound, so forgive me if you're in this kind of bigger company. But when a company gets bigger, it gets cash heavy and creative light, meaning it's got a machine that makes money. And at the end of every year, it's got cash with the question of what are we going to do with this cash? And the way they think in terms of growing their company is not organic growth. They don't think like small businesses do. They think about how do we acquire a company that can sell more to the customers we already have and that we already know. So if you have a company and you have customers that are the same or similar to their customers, and they can bolt your company on and basically use their same marketing processes, generally speaking, and add more revenue from the same customer, that makes you an appealing purchase to them. Now, here's what's interesting about it. When people are buying future revenue, there's a fairly predictable valuation process. A company normally gets valued as a multiplier of earnings. So let's say the multiplier you're working with is 6 times earnings. If last year you made $500,000, that means the enterprise, not the assets, but the enterprise is worth $3 million, 500,000 times 6, right? So when you're in a strategic buy situation, to some degree, all bets are off. Because if you're the thing that they want and they want to bolt you on, they're gonna assess your value based on their bolt on, not based on your earning history. Okay, so let me give you some examples. Now, let me back up. And therefore, the more niche and specific your customers are, the more likely you're going to get one of these large buyouts, right? So, and the more general and garden variety your customers are, the more likely you're only going to get future earnings as an acquisition. So the more likely you're going to be a financial buy. So let me give you some examples. A few years ago, this is kind of the galactic example. Microsoft, in their Office package, realized that they needed to have some kind of messaging and video chat component, right? And so around about 2018 to 17, 18, right in there, they spent $1 billion and bought Skype. Remember Skype? Skype was kind of ahead of its time. It offered things that we routinely do now with Teams or Zoom or Google Meets. And so Microsoft acquired Skype. Skype had never made a profit, but they paid just over $1 billion for Skype. Now, here's what's interesting. They replaced Skype with Teams because they decided Skype wasn't their solution. So they didn't mind burning $1 billion on it. But I'm sure the guys who sold Skype for $1 billion are not giving back any money, right? So that's an example of a strategic buy. Here's some more examples. Stephanie Breedlove, who started a payroll company in New Jersey. This is maybe 25 years ago now. She started a payroll company that only did payroll that helped families who had live-in nannies. In other words, that nanny has to have some payroll function happening. Because remember way back, 90s, people getting in trouble, they've got an immigrant person functioning as a nanny, paying them in cash, and this problem had to get solved, right? So she opened a payroll company to solve that problem. And later, and she proliferated, grew that company, added more services later, and eventually sold that company for more than $40 million. Now you would think, come on, you can't seriously be telling me that this is a $40 million company. That's what happened, okay? I'll give you one more that's more recent. It's kind of an amusing one. One of the more popular podcasts right now is called Smartless, if you're familiar with it. Jason Bateman, who is the lead actor in Ozark, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett are these three guys that do this podcast. It's fun, funny, once a week, have a celebrity guest, and so on. It doesn't look very complicated. Started it in 2020. And then somewhere around the later in 2021, sold it to Amazon for how much? Want to guess? For $80 million. Now, again, no evidence of any profit here. Now, why would Amazon, just think about it, why would Amazon want an asset like that? Well, it wants to get into the podcast business, compete with Spotify, fair enough. But it also can have this as a platform to promote the actors that are in its own content, right? It's a bolt-on. It adds value to the same customers they're trying to get and keep, right? So where does this all matter to you? As the owner of a service company, where does it matter to you? Well, if you are in the younger part of your company's development, it's very common that you just say, look, I'm going to do maintenance for anybody who needs it. Look, I've got to pay for a truck. Now I've got to pay for 10 trucks. Like, I understand, and I'm not really criticizing that. But as the company begins to mature, and you need to think about selling this thing, and you want to say, how do I get the most for this company? You need to add a component to your company that has a very niche product or audience, okay? In other words, niche looks like this. We do primarily residential air conditioning and dentist offices. We do every dentist office in the state. Dentist offices have unique issues. They have unique air conditioning issues, let's just say. And if dentist is not the right one, let's put in there surgery centers instead, okay? Surgery centers definitely have unique issues. The return issues and the humidity issues and having the redundancy required to make sure you don't lose your AC in the middle of a surgery, all the stuff that goes into that. If you have that knowledge, that is a niche offering, okay? And so when you have that niche, you can go to market with your company and ask for much more than you would get otherwise if you're groomed for the right buyer, right? And it doesn't have to be a big secret to them. You may want an intermediary to help you with this, but because bigger companies grow through acquisition normally anyway, to have someone say, hey, I'd like to spend the next 2 years getting my company ready to sell to you. Can we talk about it? That's not a bad conversation to have. If they say, look, here are the things that would be valuable to us. You think through, do I want to do that? Do I not? But it's not like you have to guess what they would want and then put that thing together on a theoretical basis and then go see if you were right. Start the conversation. If think through who would want to, if I had this niche audience, this niche customer, or this niche service, who would want to bolt that on, right? I used the example of dentist offices earlier. Maybe it's the company that sells and maintains their chairs. I don't know. I don't really work that sector. I can tell you in the air conditioning market, OEMs and other larger maintenance companies and private equity, these are the companies that they want. And within the context of private equity buys lots of companies. And so the acquisition of you by equity could be a bolt-on for a company they already own, right? Where you still just engage that company. It's just equity is the one paying for it. Okay. So this is my thought for you today, owner, air conditioning family business owner. If you're not sure that passing it down to the kids is the right path for you, and you want to maximize your value at the time of sale, a niche product, a niche customer is a central component to getting that value out. Okay. Now, my name is Dr. John Sherk. If this is the kind of thing you'd like to talk more about, if you'd like to get on the phone or on a Zoom call for a few minutes and kind of tell me your situation and see if I can give you some coaching for 15 minutes, no charge for that. Let's just talk, get to know each other a little bit. And let's see if we can't get you the money that you deserve for all these years of work that you've put in. All right. My name is Dr. John Sherk. This has been Brown Bag Lunch. Share it with your friends if you get some value and reach out to me and let's talk. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.